What if I told you one man, a broke nobody immigrant, convinced the entire United States government, major banks, and over 40,000 ordinary people to hand him their life savings in less than 1 year? No fancy degree, no connections, no product, just a suit, a smile, and the greatest lie ever told. His name was Charles Ponzi, and his scheme was so legendary, we named all fraud after him. Before we go further, drop a comment right now. Do you think you could spot a Ponzi scheme if someone pitched you one? Yes or no? Let's find out by the end of this video. The man. Born in 1882 in Lugo, Italy, Carlo Pietro Giovanni Ponzi was not born into poverty. He came from a respectable family. His mother was convinced her son was destined for greatness. She wasn't wrong, just not in the way she imagined. Ponzi arrived in Boston in 1903, off a steamship with just $2.51 in his pocket. He later admitted he'd gambled away everything on the voyage. He bounced between cities New York, Montreal, Atlanta, working odd jobs. Waiter, bank clerk, forger, prison, twice. Yes, he went to prison. Twice, before the big scam even started. Most people would have given up. Ponzi? He was just getting warmed up. By 1917, he's back in Boston. He's 35, broke, and working as a clerk. He sees an ad for his own small business idea, an export trade directory. Nothing glamorous. But then one day, a letter arrives from Spain, and inside that letter is a tiny paper coupon that would change everything. This is where it gets insane. Guess what that little paper coupon was worth? Put your answer in the comments. I'll reveal it in 60 seconds. The idea, that coupon was called an International Reply Coupon, an IRC. Here's how it worked. You mail a letter to another country. Inside, you include an IRC, a prepaid coupon the receiver can exchange for postage stamps to mail you back. Simple pen pal stuff, right? But Ponzi noticed something that nobody else had. Because of inflation and currency differences after World War I, you could buy these coupons cheaply in countries like Spain or Italy, then redeem them in America for stamps worth way more than you paid. On paper, that's a 400% profit. Legally, no one had exploited it at scale. Ponzi ran the math. His eyes lit up. He borrowed $200 from a friend, started buying coupons in Europe. It worked. Now here's where the genius turns dark. Instead of building a slow, legitimate business, Ponzi had a bigger idea. What if he just told people about the profit without actually doing the work? He walked into his neighborhood. He told people, give me your money. In 90 days, I'll give you 50% back. Guaranteed. People laughed. Then one guy said yes. Then 5. Then 50. And when those first people got their 50% back right on time, word spread like wildfire. Real quick. If your neighbor came to you and said, I'll turn your $1,000 into $2,500 in 90 days, guaranteed. To be honest, would you give them the money? Comment below, because what happened next is exactly why this question matters. The explosion. By early 1920, Ponzi had set up the Securities Exchange Company in Boston. Notice the name. Sounds completely official. Sounds like Wall Street. Sounds safe. He hired agents across New England. He paid them 10% commission for every dollar they brought in. Those agents went crazy recruiting. People were remortgaging their houses. Widows were bringing in their late husband's entire life savings. Cops, priests, politicians, everyone was throwing money at this man. By the summer of 1920, Charles Ponzi was taking in $1 million per day. Let that sink in. $1 million per day. In 1920 money, adjusted for today, that's roughly $15 to $20 million every single day. He bought a mansion in Lexington, Massachusetts. He bought a minority stake in a bank. He wore custom silk suits and carried a gold-tipped cane. He was photographed constantly. The Boston press called him the Wizard of Finance. The public adored him. But here's what nobody knew, and this is the part that should send chills down your spine. He had almost completely stopped buying postal coupons. The actual business, the real plan, abandoned. He was just taking new investors' money and paying it to old investors. A classic magic trick. The money just kept moving in a circle. Here's a question I want you to actually think about. Who do you think finally caught him? The FBI? The banks? The government? Or someone else entirely? Comment your guess. The answer might shock you. The collapse. On July 26, 1920, a single newspaper article changed everything. A Boston financial analyst named Clarence Barron, founder of Barron's magazine, published a devastating question. Ponzi is not investing the money he's raising. There aren't enough postal coupons in the world to cover his operation. Think about it. The total value of international reply coupons in circulation worldwide at the time was maybe $750,000. Ponzi had already taken in over $15 million. The math didn't just not add up, it was impossible. Physically, mathematically, completely impossible. When that article hit the newsstands, the line outside Ponzi's office didn't disappear. It got longer. People didn't flee. They showed up demanding their money back. Ponzi walked out of his office with trays of pastries and coffee. He smiled. He shook hands. He told everyone they'd be fine. Remarkably, some people actually reinvested after hearing the news. They trusted the man more than they trusted math. But behind the scenes, the walls were caving in. Bank auditors moved in. Federal investigators arrived. Former employees started talking. And then the masterstroke of irony, it was discovered that Ponzi had a prior fraud conviction in Canada. The man they'd trusted with their life savings was a convicted criminal. On August 12, 1920, less than 8 months after the scheme exploded into public view, Charles Ponzi was arrested. The Securities Exchange Company collapsed. 6 banks failed. 17,000 to 40,000 victims. Estimated losses, $20 million. That's roughly $300 million in today's money. Gone. Before the ending, I want to know, do you feel bad for the people who lost money? Or do you think there's a lesson they should have known? Be honest in the comments. No judgment. The aftermath. Ponzi pled guilty. He served 3.5 years in federal prison. But the story doesn't end there because of Ponzi. Was incapable of stopping. When he got out, he moved to Florida and immediately launched a new land scheme selling worthless swampland as prime real estate. He was arrested again, convicted again. He jumped bail, disguised himself as a sailor. Got caught in Texas trying to flee to Italy. More prison. More years. By 1934, he was deported back to Italy. Broke. Forgotten. His mansion was gone. His wife had divorced him. He spent his last years in Brazil, teaching English and Italian, scraping together a living. In 1949, Charles Ponzi died in a charity hospital in Rio de Janeiro. He had just $75 to his name. From $1 million per day to 75 V's, the big lesson. Here's what Charles Ponzi understood that most people still don't. Greed is the most hackable emotion in human history. He didn't trick stupid people. His victims were doctors, lawyers, journalists, and bankers. Smart, educated, ambitious people. He tricked them with one simple promise: more, faster, guaranteed. And 100 years later, in crypto, in MLMs, in Instagram investments, in DMs from strangers, the exact same trick is being run. Different suits, different languages, same circle of money. The scheme never died. It just changed its name. So here's my final question for you, and I want a real answer in the comments. Could you have been a victim? Not someone dumb. You. In 1920, if your neighbor who you trusted had already paid back 50% to your friends and family, would you have said no? Be honest. The truth might be more uncomfortable than you think. Charles Ponzi didn't invent greed. He just knew how to aim at it perfectly. And his name will live forever, not as a hero, not as a villain exactly, but as a warning. Every time someone promises you guaranteed returns, fast money, no risk somewhere, Charles Ponzi is smiling. Don't let him. If this video is different, share it with one person who needs to hear it. And subscribe, because next week we're going deeper into the scams that shaped the modern world. See you there.